Cutter's Degrassi Unpopular Opinions. Hey there, hello there. It's Chef Cutter Diamond welcoming you to another Degrassi Unpopular Opinion / Hot Take. And this one is about Principal Simpson. In general, is basically that is Principal Simpson's mistakes basically his mistakes or the school board's mistakes? Here's why. So anyway, as we all know, Archie Snake Simpson basically was there in Degrassi Junior High and High, and then basically got to be in Next Gen and all that. And also helped that his actor, Stephen Brogan, basically was an executive producer to pull the strings on things. So anyway, what I'm talking about, well, Simpson was the media teacher for Degrassi Community School, and basically he got in a few big storylines. He basically fell in love with Emma's mother, Spike, and married her, had a kid, named Jack, went through leukemia, came back, had to deal with his laptop being stolen by Sean because of Sean's pettiness towards Emma. He had to deal with a principal who basically mishandled the situation that led to said student basically trying to shoot up the school. He also had to deal with Emma's eating disorder, a new person in the house like Manny in season 5. And he also had to deal with Sean maybe in season 6 and all that. Snake went through a lot. Oh yeah, and Snake also went through Darcy in season 7 because Darcy was so worried about being found out she got raped and basically doing poor things that she basically blamed Simpson. Even though she came around. It wasn't good enough. But my point is this. Snake was always sort of an authority figure that you could all love. In season 8, when the chef gets called out on his basically perceived nature that academics don't make a school and all that, and basically also for the fact that he mishandled Jane and the football team, he mishandled a lot of things. Everyone walks out on him. The school board doesn't fire him, even though that chef should have been fired. Basically, they put Shep in sensitivity training and give Simpson the opportunity to be the leader. And Simpson does a decent job. And then, of course, lots of people still hate on Shep, and he doesn't do a good enough job. And then you're thinking, well, now Snake is principal. But nope, it's not Snake. It's going to be Hatzalakos, who came back from Regina, mostly because Peter was a mess without her. And so basically she comes back to Regina, from Regina, and then basically what ends up happening is that she takes over in season 9, but I think she doesn't think she can handle the school, so she gives it in Snake's capable hands. Okay, so season 10 saw Snake basically get in a couple of controversies, especially with Drew, as Drew transferred over from another school and wanted to play quarterback. Riley was the star quarterback. Basically, they have a rivalry, they have a prank war thing, and basically, Drew's mom, Audra, doesn't like the fact that Simpson didn't take a big approach to her son being bullied. So basically, she's angry at that. And the worst thing is Audra is part of the school board. So after a few other incidents, she basically tells Simpson that, I don't really like this prom idea of Vegas night and all that, because it's going to be powder keg, and this could be trouble for you. So basically, Simpson promises everything will be fine. Unfortunately, things blew up. Allie has something to do in the boiler room with Drew. Basically, Sav and Holly J sneak off to another room to do a sexual striptease and basically have sex in a sense. And there was even a shooting because Fitz was mad at Eli over the fact that, Eli's called him out. And basically, Claire was kind of caught in the crossfire. Metaphorically, of course. So basically, Simpson had a school that was not really respectful to him and all that. And basically, we were thinking, well, Simpson failed. He'll have to go back to being a teacher. But then he comes back from winter break, and guess what? He's still principal. How did he pull that one off? Well, I guess he did. And then all of a sudden he decides to enact strict measures. No extracurriculars. Basically, there will be police officers in front of the school, although I think season 11 was the original story. And basically, you have to be color-coded. You have to wear these uniforms and all that. So basically, the school is upset by Simpson's change of tone. Simpson basically was fun-loving and all that. But the second half of season 10, it basically turned into a farce and all that. So basically what you got here is the fact that Simpson basically was being a tyrant and all that. Now, Jenna was supposed to be part of the next Teen Star competition. You know, she was pregnant. But she basically, well, there was supposed to be a segment that was a regular day at the school. Unfortunately, though, Jenna couldn't do that because Simpson's policies, and basically said, I'd like to help, but our draconian principal basically wouldn't allow it. So basically, she probably thought that, you know, the school, she kind of called out Degrassi and principal. I'm wondering if Simpson basically was upset with that. I don't think he would have watched Next Teen Star. Or maybe he did because of Jenna. I like Jenna. So anyway, what you got in this situation was that, you know, everyone was upset with the extracurriculars and all that. Shay makes a note to put post-it notes on Snake's car, basically, of all the hatred towards Snake and all that. Snake is not too pleased, but basically, it's not Shay. That wasn't Shay. What's her name? It starts with a C, I think, right? Shantae, that's it. Yeah, Shantae did that. And basically, Simpson decides to talk to Shantae, and then basically, he said that the more the school behaves, the more things will come back. Basically, he's promising that everything will be back to normal in a sense. Like, the better you behave, the more along the lines I'll reinstate things. And so he does. And the school behaves themselves. And basically, a year after this whole stuff, basically, he decides to get rid of the dress code. But he still does the shirts for the students, like for grade. But you can wear whatever you want on the front of it, as long as it's not offensive. But of course, you know, Simpson, all that, more on that later. But anyway, Simpson basically was not that good of a principal. I mean, he had his moments. He was helping remedial students and all that, blah, blah, blah. But unfortunately, like in season 13, 12 and 13, he basically was not much of a character, if you will. Season 12, he blows up at Cam for punching Sig during a Spirit Week competition. Because I think Cam basically was upset that Sig was just mouthing him off and all that, about Maya and all that. Sig was just jealous of Maya. Sig was so fucking possessive of Maya sometimes, it just ticked me off. But anyway, yeah, basically Snake gives Cam a suspension and doesn't even realize that Cam needs help. And basically, you know, he was quick to anger and all that. I mean, I get it. He was mad about the whole thing of Cam. And then, of course, Simpson probably felt terrible about himself because, you know, Cam then committed suicide. And Simpson probably told himself, why did I do that? Why did I let Cam kill himself? I think he had guilt and all that. Unfortunately, though, you know, it was proven that basically Cam just got triggered and Sig was a partial part of it. And Maya, of course, was upset that Cam didn't ask her for help. I mean, everyone craps on Maya for that speech, but Maya was right. I mean, suicide was selfish and all that. It kind of is selfish. So basically, yeah, Simpson basically helps Eli out. That's the good part. Simpson helps Eli out because he realized this thing. Not about Rick, but because of Claude. Remember Claude in Degrassi High? He decided to kill himself after he had issues with his parents, and basically Caitlin wouldn't give him the time of day, and rightfully so, because he left Caitlin high and dry during a protest. So basically, yeah, he kills himself. I think he was just trying to make Caitlin feel bad, but Joey basically tells Caitlin, he's a jerk, he's just doing this to get at you, blah, blah, blah. Alright, so that was terrible in a sense. So yeah, like Snake went through the whole thing. Snake was upset with Maya after Maya's retaliatory song towards Zoe. Zoe cyberbullied Maya, but when Maya retaliated with a song aimed at Zoe, Simpson basically suspended her and basically put her in the remedial room, if you will. It's like, geez, a song? There's a lot of other things that could be retaliation. Case in point, Rick Murray bringing a gun to the school, but Maya wouldn't have done that. Maya was angry at Zoe. Basically, Zoe getting on Sig with Sig and all that, and Maya was upset. I know Maya and Zoe basically made up at the end of the season, but you know, all this. And then comes Degrassi News. It's like, how come Simpson didn't see this coming? And why didn't Simpson do anything about this whole thing? It could have been easily done if he stepped in. Basically, his lack of effort made the school board take a look and say that Simpson's not fit for the job and basically decide to get rid of him. You put Pill in, who basically was only in it for herself because she knew that if she whipped Degrassi up in a military style, that she could win the principalship back and Simpson would never have to come back. I mean, her no backpack and her cell phones policy, I get. The cameras were okay, but unfortunately she took audio of them and all that. And number 4 is the no affection policy. Why the fuck would you do a no affection policy? It just doesn't make sense. So basically, yeah, but Simpson shows up at the graduation of that class and talks to Claire and all that, saying that, you know, I helped Darcy, I should help you out. All that. Because he's going to Haiti to help schools and all that. I think he just had to get back to his roots as being a decent person. So then, you know, we thought, okay, that's the end of Degrassi. And then next class pops up out of freaking nowhere, and I'm like, what the hell? So I'm like, shit, who's principal? It's Simpson. He's back. I think the school board probably wanted him back because they figured Simpson wasn't lying when he said he didn't have much involvement in it. And also because Pill screwed up, because I think Pill basically thought that she could whip up the school and all that. But basically, I think her problem was that she had disciplined Drew for something stupid and all that. And, you know, Drew's mom is part of the school board. And Audra probably told the school board about how bad Pill was. And that led to a chain of events saying that Pill's not going to come back. So anyway, Simpson becomes principal. He has to deal with this gender identity stuff. You know, the washroom situation. He has to deal with a lot of stuff. I mean, at the end of season 18, or season 4 next class, if you will, he's only in one episode. The finale. It's like, geez, they're phasing this guy out. Do they not have faith in Simpson? Ay, ay, ay. But I mean, he also had to deal with the Degrassi racism problem. And he didn't do a good enough job. And all that. Basically put, he refused to have Frankie be punished for her racist poster. I mean, Frankie got kicked out the volleyball team, but that was by the squad. Basically, Simpson was upset. Simpson suspended Tiny for defending Lola, when in fact it was just to defend him. And basically, Snake snaps. And all that. And then basically the students basically have little confidence and basically want Simpson to change his policies or to discuss it. Basically, they want a conversation. They don't want Simpson to do anything rash. So anyway, Simpson is upset. He says that nothing's going to ruin this alumni thing. And basically, Simpson gets called out on it because they do that protest outside and all that. And Simpson now has to admit that he has to talk to everybody. So he does. He strikes up some conversations and seems to do the right thing and all that. And people think that, oh, Simpson was just stupid. And also, I still have the funny feeling that Simpson put Tristan up to something because Tristan basically was trying to make sure no controversy happened in the alumni thing. I think Tristan was doing it to please Holly J. But I also think that Simpson may have talked to him about it. And basically, if that came out, then Simpson can't be trusted. But it raises the question in the hot take is basically, was Simpson this bad, this draconian by himself, or was the school board to blame? There's a good argument that both sides are to blame. Like Simpson basically once he became principal, basically just wasn't as fun-loving and wasn't as popular as he would have been as a teacher. It's the Radich paradox, if you will, because Radich was a teacher in junior high. He was the vice principal in Degrassi High, and then he became principal at Degrassi Community School. And basically, it's like he doesn't really do well with kids and all that. How ironic that today there was a post on the Degrassi Reddit that said, did Radich have any redeeming qualities? And I wrote down that, yeah, he did. I mean, like, he was there for Wheels when his adoptive parents died in a car crash, and he was there for Craig when Craig's dad, Albert, died, being at the funeral, and at that luau dance, when Craig hallucinates about his father and rips things. They want to stop him. The student wants to stop him, but Radich says, let him get it out of his system. Because Radich knew. At least he cared in that message. Yeah, but once Radich became principal, he started becoming disliked and basically didn't do things to help people out. And that's Simpson to a T. I mean, Simpson probably was only being draconian in a sense because he wanted to save his job. He loved the kids so much, but he didn't want to lose his job and all that because he didn't know where he was going to end up. I think he didn't think he was going to end up like Radich, basically being reassigned and maybe quitting the reassignment to go to California to be in Chop Cut Rebuild. That's a fake message, but that's okay. But what you got is basically, that was the school board basically in his head. And I think there's a good argument for that. Basically, Audra put it in Snake's head that basically this school's going to go on with or without you. And basically, yeah, she was threatening to kick Snake through the curb. Snake had to rethink his policies and all that. He was worried about his job. I think she toyed with him. And Simpson basically became a piece of shit, if you will. Sorry for saying that, but that's the truth. Okay, but anyway. I mean, Snake is a good person and all that. But I think the school board may have had something to do with it. And who knows, maybe the school board's policies were an automatic policy that basically, if something happens, it's an automatic suspension and all that. Maybe the school board's to blame because of their policies. And Simpson has to follow those and basically suspend Tiny for that stupidly, of course. I think the school board basically was a little bit more old school than we all think they are. Who knows? Maybe the school board is to blame for why Radich got canned. Maybe the school board got in so much trouble after the fact that Rick was mishandled and all that. The school board was basically put on the spot and may have had to pay a settlement to Rick's parents. Although I think that's part of that settlement might have had to be funneled to the cops as a fine for not securely using your firearms, because how else did Rick easily get his dad's gun? Yeah, I think the school board is to partially blame too for Simpson's behavior. Now that maybe their policies are sucking as much as the real ones. Yeah, it seems like sometimes the school board basically make up these rules on the fly, and they basically are not as modern as we all want them to be. Maybe they're the fault. Maybe they're old school. Maybe Simpson basically has no choice but to follow those rules. Maybe Simpson doesn't want to follow the rules. Maybe Simpson should have just resigned saying that I'm not going to play your freaking game. But we'll never know what the real reason is. But I'll give you my reasoning. Agree or disagree, it is what it is. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. Thank you for watching. Good